Welcome to Roseflower Radio, the show that goes behind the scenes of your favorite independent artists and creatives. I'm Micah Wilson.
And I'm your co-host, Finlay. With us today is an artist, producer, songwriter, and so much more. Known for his work with Joe Ryan III, as well as his personal work. Ladies and gentlemen, 1 year later, it's Drew Lewis.
Hello. How's everybody doing?
Good.
Fantastic.
Good.
Great.
I love the energy right back into it.
you.
And I want to say it's amazing now that we are back 1 year later. You are the first of any of our guests to come back on.
Yeah.
And
to say
I'm
what's
so
up.
happy because if you give me a mic and tell me to talk for an hour, that is a great day for Drew Lewis.
We've seen it before, so it will happen yet once again.
I believe you.
Yes.
We thought it
With
was only
evidence.
fitting that the first episode of Roseflower Radio also became the first episode of the 1 year later.
And we are in the new set now, which
are
is
indeed.
phenomenal.
You
had
haven't seen it.
No, you've had it for a minute, but I have
Yes.
not been able to see it in person yet. And it's so cool. It looks so good in here.
Thank
So,
you.
hype us up a little bit more.
No,
just so that way
literally,
everyone else is
yes.
hearing.
You should see where they started from to now.
Hey, you
unbelievable.
I didn't say roast us.
He said they were down before.
You would not believe the last place. God.
Yeah,
Hey, I still live there, okay?
back in Finley's apartment. A little bit different of what we're doing now.
Yeah, Micah didn't have any hair back then.
So yeah,
It's true, yeah.
I
That's changed.
shaved.
Yeah,
I was on
so last year, the first thing that we talked about was your working relationship with the people that you write with and produce with. And the main person we talked about was JL.
Yes.
Yes,
we are still cooking
That
all the
was where I
time.
was going, yeah.
We are recently collaborating a lot with Matt Beckley. He did a lot with Kesha and Brittany and Camila Cabello Havana. And he is co-producing and written on my new single, mid-May. It's called Love So Right. You heard it here first.
Let's go.
Exclusive.
Exclusive, the Roseflower exclusive, of course. But yeah, so that's been a very creatively fulfilling and just really getting in the studio every day. And I feel like we've had goals of doing that, and I think just at least speaking for myself, my priorities have been in 100 places at once because I'm just that way. And granted, I did start a coffee company last week, so
Which is something we need to
Yeah,
dive
that
into.
is something so...
but I feel like I've been really motivated to be focused on just creating, which is
Yeah.
good. And obviously I'm in just a good place mentally and physically, whatever, to be
awesome.
doing all of that,
Hell
which is
yeah.
good. But
Is that something that you think has changed within the past year? Not that you have to dive into your mental health and everything, but
I think I'm just in a better place in terms of viewing creativity, and also I'm out of school. when we had talked, I think it was just graduating or about
Yes,
to graduate,
yeah.
and now I'm just I'm out of school. I'm able to just work, and I'm fortunate enough to get enough production work to just do music, which is phenomenal, which is a blessing. And I think that alone just allows me to have more time to be able to do music. So I think
Yeah.
a lot of it is just the fact that the cards I've been dealt, I've been, very privileged and blessed to be where I am. But that being said, I am in a much better place and
That's
can,
cool.
do more things that creatively fulfill me rather than, a lot of school projects and things, which
Yeah.
is so good. School is great. I learned a lot, but it's it's very draining. It's very, very draining.
Yeah, I just graduated a week.
Congratulations.
It'll be a week tomorrow.
Yes.
I graduated. Micah,
Golf
throw
clap.
up a photo right there of me graduating.
Look at that.
you gotta send me one.
I will. No, I'm not just saying that.
I'll just Photoshop.
Yeah. No, yeah. So we kind of brushed over that a little bit. Coffee company.
Yes.
So Drew posted this on Instagram, and I saw it, and I was like, "Oh, this looks cool. This looks awesome." And I followed the account, and then I thought about it a little bit more, and I texted a friend of mine, and I was like, "Hey, I love this. What? How? Where? How? Why? What?" I was like, "This looks cool."
Wait.
Yeah. So I don't remember last year there being any
No,
talk of a coffee
not at
company.
all.
So why don't we go all the way back?
It's
Yes.
like the Gaga
So-
thing. Have you seen that? It's like Kanye where he's like, I love the Gaga songs. What the hell does she know about cameras?
Yeah.
Exactly.
No offense to you,
No,
but what do you know about
100%.
coffee?
Yeah, so
You'd
take
look
us
at me
back.
and
Where
be
did it
like,
come from?
Yes. Okay, so I'm very much entrepreneurial baddie, and I watch Shark Tank in my free time, which is so embarrassing. But I had a dream only 2 months ago, and I was like, I gotta start something. I gotta do it right now. I don't know what it is. And then I'm sitting on that for a few days, and I'm just like speaking it out loud. I'm just like, yeah, I'm gonna start a company in a little bit. Don't know what. Just like, no, I'm going to. And then like a few nights later, I have a dream, and it's me holding these iced coffee cans, a dead ass. And I wake up launching out of my bed, and I'm just like, it's coffee. And I write it down, and it's Magic Coffee. I know the name. I'm like, it's right there. And the next day.
You received a prophecy. Wow.
The prophecy, exactly.
What's the word? Prophecy.
Good job.
Yes. So I'm fulfilling that prophecy, and in my manic upward spiral, I like to call it, I, in the span of like a week, had everything figured out from the marketing and the suppliers and everything. And then I was, gonna take a beat to actually maybe like, wait, is this a good idea? Is this actually a good idea? And, figuring out some of the kinks and, all the little details that I'm like, oh, starting a company, one, and two, starting a coffee company, in which I just love coffee. I drink a lot of it multiple times a day, but I don't really know a lot of the ins and outs of like manufacturing coffee. It's very different. So just learning a lot about all of the things and different ways you can go about it, and I think I settled on a delicious recipe that I'd love for you guys to try.
I was hoping. I wasn't gonna ask if there was any in the box, but I was hoping.
A little magic. So this just launched today as we're filming this. So you guys get some exclusive. We have both the vanilla.
What?
And the mocha here.
Okay.
So we have two of each. I don't know who would like to try what. I'm gonna have a vanilla, but
I was gonna say, can I get the other vanilla?
yes.
Hand me that mocha. Micah mocha.
You want the other mocha?
Wow.
All right.
So I like to shake it just a little bit because it gets very frothy.
Shaken, not stirred.
Okay, yeah, we can also trade off, Micah, if you want.
Yeah, you gotta try it.
I don't want to.
Understandable. Honestly, I was just saying that.
I've heard-
I don't want to trade with you either.
Based on reviews of early testers, mocha is the fan favorite. Vanilla's
Damn, I
good.
chose
It's
wrong.
standard. I know.
There you
I
go.
still like the vanilla, but I think mocha's just a tad sweeter.
So I love the even the product of it is like, or like the visual appeal of it.
Thank you.
It looks like really nice coffee.
Yeah.
Like if I
Thank
saw
you.
this at like your local Whole Foods or something, I'd be like, that looks appealing.
I
Thank
just
you.
realized something. On our last episode, last time you were with us, we introduced you to yerba mate.
Yes,
And now,
we get to crack open a
and
magic
now
today.
a year later, Drew is introducing us. Yeah, wait, let's get the.
Yeah.
We gotta get a.
Oh yeah.
It's a good crack. It's a good crack.
Okay.
So it's a blend of cold brew, oat milk, and we have
Okay.
both the mocha and the vanilla here.
Oh my gosh, bro. That is so yummy.
Tasty. Because my issue with canned coffee has been that it doesn't taste like real coffee, or it tastes like a kid's drink or like a chocolate milk. So I wanted to make sure it actually tasted like coffee.
Yeah, yeah. It doesn't taste like all the Starbucks ones. Just taste like sweet.
Literally, it's just like a candied bar, which is sometimes delicious. It's sometimes the vibe, but like in terms of like I am somewhere and I can't have time to stop at Starbucks, it's delicious.
Yeah, I'm not gonna.
Is the
I think
mocha?
the people
I know.
are correct. The mocha is definitely the one.
And Magic Mocha speaks for itself. So I'm
Come
like,
on.
Yeah,
I think that's our
so-
flagship.
Yeah. So while we're sipping on these, why don't you tell us? You just said you worked out the retail and the supplier. Now that is what I was most interested in.
Yeah.
Is you don't have to spill the trade secrets or anything.
I mean, there's a
but
lot of
where is it
different
coming
ways.
from?
There's a lot of different ways you can go about it when starting a beverage business, and there's like white labeling, private labeling, and then there's also like customized individual, like having your own lab and plan. And obviously, I'm like not in a place where I can fully like do everything myself. So I was looking at a number of different like private label companies who just aid in securing recipes and kind of like being the bridge in that gap where they have, kind of like a batch of like custom things that you can pull from. It's, I guess, instead of like coding a website yourself, you're like using like Wix.
Totally.
So it's like, it's still yours. It's very much me, like this is my coffee, but it's not like I had to really get in there and go
you can't
grind
go
the
out
beans,
and
you know.
buy this coffee in another can, but they maybe make for other people.
Exactly.
Okay, yeah.
So just, you know, finding the right supplier that had, you know, not crazy upfront costs and not a ton of minimums because, again, I just did this for no reason.
Yeah, you don't know. You don't know where
I
it's
can't
gonna
justify.
go.
I don't have investors. I'm just like doing this. But you know, we're doing it, and I'm very excited.
Talk to me about, because I mean, and I want to get more into you as well.
No,
but
yes,
like I'm so invested in this. So like this 125 milligrams of caffeine.
Yeah.
I don't. Coffee wise, is that like around average for how much this is? Is that a little bit more?
Depending on like what metric, like about a cup and a half, but like it's not like crazy. It's like pretty standard.
I'm asking if I'm gonna vibrate on the way home. That's for them.
I don't, but I also drink coffee every day, so it depends. Red Bulls have like, I think like 200 or something.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
it's not like...
It's a happy medium between like a cup of coffee and
You'll
shotgunning
definitely
a
like
Red Bull.
be awake, which is why I'm glad it's not like evening right now. I mean, it's kind of...
It's perfect.
It's
I don't
perfect.
care.
Yeah,
It's Friday night.
Come on. What are we
Yeah,
doing?
so we just said, where do you hope it goes? And also, do you see it intertwining with Drew Lewis, the artist?
Do I see it
or
intertwining?
Is it
Yes.
a separate venture?
Very much intertwined. It's not intertwined in a sense that I'm like putting all my eggs in this basket, because for me, this is very much like a passion side project as much as it's like iconic and I love it. It's like music is still where it's at for me. But there's definitely a lot of crossover coming. And I think when the video for Love So Right comes out, you'll see a few Magic coffee cans if you keep an eye out.
Yes. Okay. The lore.
The lore, yes. But yeah, there was another part of your question. What'd you say?
Where do you see this company going? Maybe just forget about the intertwining.
Yeah. I have a
Magic
lot
coffee.
of ideas, and I think as I started, it was just more like it's fun, you know, I could sell it and have a thing online, you know, whatever. It's just like, it's just fun to do it. At least it is for me. And then I was like, no, I actually like could do things with this. I could talk to retailers and like get this in stores. And I think like I have a few people that I'm talking to right now who are potentially going to make some things like that happen, which is very exciting. And it's like something that I didn't even foresee for myself, especially like right now. I'm like, I just graduated, like I'm trying to break into music, and then I was just like, I guess I'll do this on the side. And now
Let
I'm
me
just
also break into the beverage
I guess, I don't
Chill
know.
out, dude.
I know,
Save some for the rest of us.
So thank you. I know, but yeah, that's, I think, big things, which is weird because I think for the first time, I try to do like everything that I do at like 100, and I did give this my all, but it wasn't for the sake of like, this is gonna be $1 million business. And I feel like I treat my music that way, where I'm just like, no, this is gonna make me a millionaire. But for coffee, I'm like, no, I just like coffee. It's an excuse to have an abundance of coffee at my fingertips. Yes.
With your brand.
With my brand, with the perfect packaging that I designed. Yes, I want it at my house all the time.
Yeah. Okay. So last
final thing that I want to address on this.
Yes.
In the topic of, I feel like, you know how like Snoop Dogg has like his own rum or something. I don't know what it is. You know,
his own weed.
Well, yeah, but he has rum too, I think. Or
Probably.
Like, I don't know what it is, but basically you'll notice a lot of bigger signed musicians and artists and songwriters, whatever, who are doing these product placement sort of things. And you get that a lot, but something that you really rarely see is an independent person who's actually kind of pursuing not only, hey, here's this, but like reaching out into other things. Has there been any benefits in your mind to doing this independently? Are there any setbacks? And like, what's like the coolest thing that you've taken away from this?
I think I'm not opposed to partnering with a brand. I think Lizzo did that with her brand Yitty. I don't know if she started it with Fabletics, but now it's like, I don't know if they got a stake in it. So I'm definitely not opposed to the idea of like someone else taking the reins and me just being like, fly, you know, because I'm not
totally.
like, coffee is not, again, like my connoisseur. Like music, I feel like I'm like, no, I like to have control. And if someone else wants a piece of the pie, like I very much want to maintain a big part of it. But
For
I'm
sure,
like this,
yeah.
I could see someone being like, "It's ours now," and I'd be like,
Sure.
"Best of luck, fly on."
Yeah,
Here's my baby. you
Here's
know?
my
Yeah.
baby. No, obviously not exactly like that, but like you
Yeah.
know what I mean. What was I saying? The question. It was so good.
I was just basically saying, like, you see a lot of, like, signed artists.
Yes.
And, like,
I think it's interesting that we see that too, because we view celebrities and especially musicians as like very wealthy,
Totally.
but all of them have a side hustle of some kind.
Absolutely.
The billionaire Jay-Z has done like 20 other things to be a billionaire. It's
Yeah.
not from his music.
50 Cent had to do beats before he had, and Smart Water or Underarm, what the fuck,
I don't know.
whatever water he invested in. I think it was
Something
Smart
like
Water
that.
in order to get to billionaire status.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I feel like, you know, you see that a lot, and not that there's no money to be had in music, but especially now with streaming. And I feel like film and TV can relate a lot to this now because it's like streaming is amazing for the customer, but not so amazing for the creator of said product,
Yeah.
which
Yeah.
is hard when we are all both, you know, creators. And like as a customer, I'm like, I listen to more music now than I ever did when I was buying music on iTunes, you know, and I was obviously like 10 or whatever, but like if Spotify was around, I would be exposed to probably a lot more in my childhood just
Yeah.
because you physically can. I got on a tangent, but that being said, I think it's good to diversify,
Absolutely, yeah.
have a lot of lanes running, especially when you are in music, because you're essentially your own boss. Even if you are under management or a label, it's like you got to look out for.
Yeah, you're still looking, yeah, they're still all kind of taking from you. You're still the one generating and in
Exactly.
charge. Yeah. Yeah, so we can continue sipping our magic coffee available now.
Yes.
As we
At Drink Magic Coffee on Instagram.
There you go. There you
Get
go. And it'll also be, all the links will also be in the description down below. And as we sip, why don't we move on? You mentioned briefly a new single coming
Yes.
out
Yes.
with Matt Beckley.
Yes.
Who I know and I have met, but perhaps for the people, you also said it a little bit. Who is Matt Beckley, and maybe how did you guys become connected?
Yeah, Matt Beckley is such a talented producer. He's done a lot of vocal production and mixing and everything you could imagine in music, as we all do, just jack of all trades type. But he worked a lot with Max Martin and Kesha and Britney and all of them during that time. Katy Perry, he was in Katy Perry's live band as well.
It's crazy.
He, you know, was all over the place and still is now. He did Havana, Camila Cabello, and a few other stuff, a few other records with her. And yeah, he's just brought a lot to my radar in terms of like making pop music really accessible. And I think like going to music school is awesome. But I do think it kind of turns into a game of musicians trying to impress musicians rather than
Absolutely.
musicians trying to make music that everyone can latch onto.
For sure.
And not in a way that's dumbing it down, but in a way that's like bridging the gap between like smart musicianship and like what
People actually.
Tiffany in Kentucky can sing along to on
Yeah.
their way to work. You know, it's like both things can
Yeah,
exist.
Tiffany doesn't care about your sharp 7,
No,
flat
she doesn't
9,
care.
11 chords.
That's just noise.
Yeah.
So, but I think, you know, he's bringing a lot to the table in my sound personally. And then the records we're writing for other artists, very much just like a lot of new elements that like gave me more of a boost in terms of like my writing as well. Cause not that I was in a rut specifically, but I think just like changing up your creative space every once in a while can be good. You know, adding another person or just lighting a candle, you know, like something
totally,
like that.
absolutely.
But
You're
like
doing something.
doing
yeah.
something, I think, you know, just to kind of like shake it up and like reignite like what you're doing, especially if you're
Yeah.
doing something creative. It's like hard to make something out of nothing if you're just like in the same box every day.
Absolutely. That's
Yeah.
actually something I wanted to harp on because
Harp
I've
away.
what?
Harp
Harp
away.
away.
All right, whatever. What I've always like really respected from you, not only in your work ethic in your music, but also your level of songwriting. And I think that that's something that is just very apparent in the music that you make, whether it's for yourself or for other people. And I knew that even a year ago, you know, when we first sat down. I was like, no, this is someone who's like really dedicated to this craft. And it's like, you know, you can't like pull him away from it, even if you wanted to. And it's cool that you were actually I just almost said harp again, but I'm going to stop because you're going to make fun of me. But it's cool that you were speaking on that because it's cool to see like even how much that has changed within this year. So another thing I wanted to ask was like, you kind of touched on it briefly, but like how much, in what ways do you think your songwriting has changed within the past year? And what are some of the new things? I know that you just said, you know, like that you're getting in a new environment and things like that.
I think like going backward a little bit. I think like, again, I feel like it was like I had learned so many tricks of, you know, production or writing, and it was like, not that my stuff was ever super like complex or jazzy. Like you're gonna listen to my last record and be like, it's a freaking pop song, dude. Like chill out. But I'm gonna be like, I think listening to the new one, it's a bit more cut and dry. It's like, this is the song. It speaks for itself. I think it's amazing and interesting, and I'm really excited for everyone to hear it. But I think it's a little less. I think there's more space, and I feel like that's something that I've been afraid of. And I think a lot of it had to do with me not being confident in my abilities of both songwriting, production, and my vocals, in the sense where I was like, well, if I do everything and do all the little tricks and there's so much ear candy and there's 20 harmonies on every line, it's like, how can you not appreciate or understand that I can do this kind of, you know?
Yeah.
And I think being able to strip it back and just be like, in the first verse specifically of Love So Right, it's just like me and a guitar for like almost the entire first verse, and then like a little beat kicks in, and then the chorus goes a little wild, but it's just like allowing it to be more simple and have the space so people just, there's just something special about silence.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
that
yeah, and
space.
it takes you're like you were saying, it takes confidence in order for an artist to be like, no, they're not gonna get bored during like maybe the post chorus come down or something. I don't need to add a little in the background or whatever. And my question is, has that confidence come from Matt? Would you say that maybe being in the room with him?
I think from Matt, and then a lot of things throughout this past year have just like affirmed to me that I am good enough to be doing this. And I think like it's hard, and I feel like you can get in that rut at any point, whether you're a millionaire or just starting out. You know, it's like, it's hard to believe that you are, one, worthy, or two, like able to be producing something out of nothing producing music that you want to go to a crazy place. It's like ballsy to be like, no, I'm making this song with the intent that I'm gonna put it on Spotify and it's gonna blow up and everyone on TikTok's gonna love it. And it's just like, that's a big ask. Like that's kind of crazy. It's like a shot in the dark. So I think like having that outside perspective, not only from Matt, but just from other people, it reinstates like, oh no, like I can have confidence in my ability, which is great. And I think that comes through in the music.
And I think that that's cool too, because, you know, it's also an acceptance of, because here's the thing, and very similar to your regard, like something that I struggle with too, where I'm like, I'm not a crazy jazz musician. I don't know like the sevenths, the ninths as much as I want to, you know?
I barely pass music theory.
Yeah, but like I've tried, I've studied, you know, I really have. But it's like, that's something that just doesn't come innately to me. And something that I figured out recently in my life, and something that I feel like you have too, and it's really cool to hear it, and even see how much you've grown. But it's like, it's really awesome where you're talking about like the simplicity and the silence in the music. And something that's really impactful in that is that like you don't need to make, like a lot of the times I feel like what artists do is they try and layer complexity for the sake of showing off. And a lot of the times why you're showing off is based on insecurity.
100%.
And something that I think is so cool where you're just like, I think the hardest thing to do is to make simple pop songs.
Yeah.
Ever. I think you could probably compose the most outstanding, ridiculous jazz ensemble that would change the world
12
and make all the gurus go,
Yes.
whoa, whoa, you know? But like sitting there and writing a 4 chords and then just having this melody stand out and be itself, and then the songwriting on top of that and let it be what it is. I think that not only shows confidence in music, not only shows truth in yourself and what you stand for and what you believe in, but also just, I don't know how to say, just overall swag. You know, like it's just so
overall
cool.
swag.
It's
just-
No, you're right, and I feel like, yeah, it takes a lot to get somewhere, and not to poo-poo jazz musicians. It's very hard. Again, like we're saying, it's like we probably actually couldn't do that. We're saying that,
Yeah,
but like,
Logan
it's
is
like
screaming and crying in the corner
Yeah.
right now.
no, but like I think there is something to be said. I think with something that comes across as so simple and trite as a pop song, it's like there's a lot of thought and care in something like that.
Sorry, we had a.
It's okay. It's okay.
I wanted to trade back, and he was like, no.
You want the mocha? The mocha.
It's good.
Micah like mocha.
The magic Micah mocha.
Magic
Magic
man.
Micah mocha. We got to rebrand.
That was my nickname in high school, actually, weirdly.
Oh, that's good.
Not really, it wasn't my nickname.
I
You know, it was
know.
one of those things that someone like said to me, and then I was like, I've never had a nickname. So
Did they
like,
actually say that?
Well, they like hinted at it. and
Magic
then I-
Micah?
Well, no, it was just Mocha. That's what I'm saying.
Mocha.
I was
It
called
was
Mocha
Mocha.
for a bit.
Oh, okay.
Because
your name is Micah.
Yes.
Okay.
And then also there was one time I came home from like a summer or like after summer break or something. I was like, I got a tan or something. So like, yo, Mike is now Mocha. I don't know why we're talking about this, but
It's okay.
No, this is an important
It's
story
really
to
important.
tell
I really
right
feel like
there.
that, as we're diving into Drew Lewis, the 1 year anniversary, I want to make this a
and
testament.
speaking of, one of my favorite stories from the first episode that we did.
I don't even remember what we talked about.
You ready? Is the how you got started working with other artists through karaoke performance that
Yes.
ended up on Facebook.
Oh my gosh.
And you've
yes.
also mentioned a little bit how you're working with other artists, with Matt and with JL and that. So I think my question is, how much time would you say now are you dedicating to Drew Lewis and Drew Lewis's music versus now what sounds like a very much more expanded client base, maybe you might call them?
Yeah.
Like, what's the split there?
I think it depends on the day. I mean, like, because there's some days where I'm like, I'm so tired of doing things for me. Just because, it's like, in a way, I think a lot of like artists, songwriters, artist producers can relate where it's like, you can carve out a lane for yourself and beat that to death, which is awesome. But it's like the freedom that comes with opening the door with working with other artists is that you can do everything. So I can make a jazz record if I want, with
Yeah.
so-and-so jazz singer who wants to, but it's just like having that outlet. So I think like, at least for me personally, when I am a little all over the place, but recently it's been a lot more focused on my artist project just because I feel like I've had a bit of like a reframing of like my time for a while. And I think like I was doing like some different production work for a music library, and then like they didn't have enough work for me, so they were like, bye. And this was like 6 months ago, and I was like, oh my God, I effed, I'm not gonna be able to make money, and I'm fine, which is awesome. But now it's like, oh, okay, now with all of this newfound free time, I'm not bound to anybody. Like I have my own artists that I work with. I have my own writers that I work with. It's just like, now what? Now that I'm at the helm, no one's asking. No, I don't have a quota to meet. Like, it's my thing.
The only quota is whether
Exactly.
you're happy. Yeah.
So it's like, now it's like I'm able to make that schedule, which is interesting. But that being said, I don't have a percentage for you because I am so...
It's just whatever, yeah.
But I think in recent times, especially since the new single and some other ones I have coming, a lot has been dedicated to my artist project, which I'm really happy about just because I feel like I'm in a place to do it now where I also don't feel like guilty about it. Because I think sometimes it can feel like very self-serving because in a way it is. Like, but I think just like realizing that it's like, no, this is like something cool and like I enjoy it, people enjoy it. So I'm like, it's not selfish.
Yeah,
I tried to reframe that.
Yeah, I kind of have that same problem myself where like there's always something Roseflower I could be doing or editing, but then also say I have photo shoot I just did that needs editing, or I have a video that needs editing for a client, and I have to be like, well, Roseflower is important too, Finlay. Like you're allowed to do that for yourself for a couple hours, and kind of reframing it as like, no, this is as important and is as cool as anything that you might be doing, even though maybe outside people might be like, well, no one's paying you for that. Why are you spending so much time doing that? Because I want to.
Exactly.
It's kind of that reframing.
And I think that's important, like with anything in life. It's like money shouldn't be the end all be all.
100%.
And also, if you're looking at it like a business in terms of like Roseflower, like my artist project, like it is a long-term investment,
Absolutely.
when you're looking at that, like there's a million ways that you could be fruitful in the future from Roseflower. That is not as, short-sighted or short-term as like a project.
Yeah,
or
maybe
a
right
client.
now we're not, getting because people ask me sometimes, like, oh, so like when you edit a podcast episode, like how much do you make? Or like when you edit a higher or lower, like what are you doing? And I'm like, it's fun,
You mean how much am I losing?
Yeah.
Reframe that.
Yeah, let's
Big old goose
reframe
egg.
it.
That's what we got right here.
No, so I guess I think what a lot of our kind of going back into your work for other artists, a lot of I know a lot of producers, a lot of people who listen to our show, and just in general, they struggle to find people with like the commitment, and B, a lot of the time, the willingness and budget to pay for production work.
Absolutely, yeah.
So obviously not everyone can get discovered on Facebook through a
Sure.
karaoke video. So my question is, other than the karaoke video, where do your clients come from?
A lot of it is people and I feel like when I was, about to graduate and I was working for the music library or doing work for the music library and like kind of doing some people on the side, it was like, oh, if I could just find, artists who are one that I vibe with, one that I like their sound, and that like can actually pay me, because again, not a lot of money to be had in music, especially as a starting out artist. Like there's
Absolutely.
not, if you're not having a label or a sugar daddy, it's like very hard to fund an artist career.
Write that down.
Write that down. But it's very hard to fund a music career. So just finding people who can, but also being flexible within your means. Like I think like if you're a producer and you're like, my rate is this.
Yeah.
And if that works for you and everyone's going to pay that rate, that's awesome. But
Yeah.
most of the time that's not going to be the case. You're going to have
Absolutely.
to budge and maybe do it for a little less than you want. But then there's someone who comes along who's like,
I got all the money.
yeah, I'm secretly a doctor by day. And I
Yeah.
just do, and you're like, okay, so
Does
they pay the full rate,
$5,000 an hour sound good? And you're
Exactly.
like, absolutely it does.
You spend an extra 30 minutes setting up. We're by the hour here, so.
Yeah, that's how it goes.
Yeah.
Oh, also, I recently in my house got a projector instead of the TV.
What?
Side tangent, because I was like manic and I was like, I need to do this right now. Similar to Magic Coffee. Come on.
We see how you
woke
work
up
now.
in
We're
the
starting to
middle
figure
I was like, projector! But I was like trying to hang the screen on the ceiling with like these brackets. Could not figure it out. And I was like, you know what? If I don't get a stud or whatever, this thing's gonna fall and it's gonna be really embarrassing. So
Yeah.
I was like, I'm gonna hire a TaskRabbit. I do it. I'm like, literally, I have the holes marked. I just need to know if that's a stud. I think it is, because I had a stud finder. I was like, I just need you to do it and hang it, because I don't know how. And he was like, oh yeah. The guy took like an hour and 45 minutes for like a job that should have been done in 20 minutes, which like, no offense, respect the hustle. But I was standing right there and I was like, no, just do this. For like an hour and a half, because it was like, I literally knew what he needed to do. Anyway, whatever. He was a very nice man. He smelled of cigarettes. But back to... not on the projector. Where were we?
We were on the projector. We were talking about. Oh my God! Wait, what were we?
I was so involved
I was so
in your
invested
story.
in the projector, man.
It didn't really go anywhere. I thought there would be more punch at the end of the story. It's not. But thank you.
Got you.
I don't know where we were.
Well, I don't
at.
know either.
Rates for clients and
Yes,
artists,
yes.
and yeah, I think just also holding yourself to a standard in a sense that it's like. I did a lot of free work for a long time, which I still do every
Absolutely.
once in a while, but it's like setting the precedent that like, no, my work is good enough to be charged for.
Yeah.
And I think that's a hard thing to come to terms with, because it's hard to be like, no, my work is good enough and you must pay me.
Yeah.
It's a bold statement, you know, especially if someone's like, hey, I like your stuff, and like you're trying to transition into paid work. It's like hard to be like, yeah, now you have to pay for it.
Yeah,
You know, especially if they heard.
Especially when you charge, and especially when you start getting up there, people expect certain levels of
Exactly.
of quality,
Yeah.
of professionalism. If they're in the know, they may expect, I'm paying X amount per hour. Why don't you have this mic, this
100%.
preamp, this?
Yeah.
You know, this, that. You know, there's so much more that comes with charging for music and production work, songwriting, whatever it might be. Because as soon as money becomes involved, everyone's expecting, even if they're not paying for it, like in their head, they're like, I'm paying, I should be getting the greatest of everything, even when
100%.
maybe they're
We're
like the
paying them to
lowest
do a job.
10% of actually
And also people I
paying.
feel like are going to be more snobby too, because then all of a sudden like now they're putting money into it, so then it's like, no, like it needs to be exactly like this. Whereas like
Exactly.
if it's like, and I think, well, what's interesting what we're talking about here is the difference in between making a hobby a career.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
and I think that this as a concept is something that a lot of people struggle with. How do I turn the thing that I love into something that I can pay bills for, you know? And a lot of people, and it's also hard when there's so many people who can replace what you're doing and maybe do it for free because that's where they're at right now.
Exactly.
You know, so how do you stand out? And you have to, you know, try and bargain and then pitch yourself as
Exactly.
a business.
Yeah.
instead
I
of,
think, it helps too. I mean, like, I think with any, you know, especially music production, like building that repertoire and being like, this is what I can do. I have 20 of these songs, you know, take your pick, whatever sound you like, you know, or whatever sound you're trying to go for your artist project. Like, we can make that happen, you know. And then, transitioning from the hobby to the job. It can be an awkward and or very long or clunky or one step forward, two steps back kind of a thing. But it is, I noticed a big shift once I just actually took myself seriously. I was like, no, I'm starting a business. Like I've been doing this. I've been doing this because I like it. And like one day I want to make money, but it's like, no, like this is a business. And right now it's like, we're starting out. So it's very relatively cheap, you know?
Yeah.
You know, but it's like going from there and like having that mentality. And I think like, treating it as such has changed a lot. And people, I think I probably could have gotten money a lot earlier if I had just taken myself seriously and been like, oh, so-and-so, I know they work XYZ job and it's a pretty cushy job. I could have been making money on that, you know, and it's not a regret because it built the resume and whatever, but it's like you set the bar, you know, you set that standard. So if you come to the table and you're like, oh yeah, this is my rate. You know, it's flexible, but like this is what I usually charge for this type of thing. Most people will pay if they're looking for a service. Not most, but I think especially out of college.
Yeah,
and
it's
those who are
different.
taking it more professionally as well.
Yeah,
The thing I
and-
wanted to ask about that though, last sort of thing is like with the, I think you kind of mentioned it too, but like if someone was trying to transition from hobby to business, you know, like, and I think you were saying this just now, but like, is there any other advice that you think that you would give like a person who's really trying to change what they're doing as a hobby into something that literally gets them bills, like lets them pay their bills, you know?
Definitely talking to other people in the field and being like, hey, actually, I want to see numbers. I want to see, I saw
sure.
you did XYZ projects. How much did you make? How much, like, do you charge on the front end? Do you charge on the back end? Do you do half and half? You know, like, what does that look like? If you charge a lower rate, do you take more percentage on the back? You know, like, all of those things to consider, and also just, like, having that ready for your artist or client, whoever's coming in. I think that was a big changer, too, because it was, like, when you have the answers, again, it's like, when you take yourself more seriously, people will
Notice.
kind of
respond
reciprocate
and reciprocate that energy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that like if you respect yourself and be like, yeah, I am
100%.
good, I am, you know, I'm worth this much, then
Mm-hmm.
people around you, as long as they, you know, have the right intentions, there are definitely people who will be like, oh, you're charging $1, fuck off.
Yeah,
like it's like, but if they have the good intentions, they will return the respect that you are giving themselves or that you are giving yourself.
100%.
Yeah.
And I feel like this is not to poo-poo any, like, pro bono work. Like, I think there is a good space, especially in music, for
Absolutely.
investing time into an artist that you really just
Yeah, you can't get to the point of charging if you're not gonna put in the hours beforehand.
exactly.
100%.
And even some of the biggest producers have like very low, what's it called, respectively, fees to do a song if they want to do a song with an artist or they think that it can be big.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Like you'll kind of trade back and forth, kind of go, oh, this song is gonna do massive. It'll make me X amount down the road.
Exactly.
Through referrals, this and that. I'm not gonna blow it, like throw away the opportunity by sticking to this rate, so then they go with someone else. Yeah.
Exactly. Because, even like a Max Martin or someone as big as him, it's like he can't be charging full Max Martin rate for everybody. If you look at Katy Perry's last pop album, she didn't work with many big producers. And it's probably because she realized I can get pretty much the same product from a nobody, Mr.
Exactly.
Drew Lewis,
Yeah, totally.
on the beat.
Hey, ideally.
Yeah, ideally. Katie, hit me up.
Yeah.
But
Phone number's right there.
right. But I think just taking after different people in your field, both that and also that you can watch like a masterclass on. Like I watched
Absolutely.
a lot of like big producers talk on panels and be like, what was your come up story? Like, what did that look like? And even if it was 20 years ago, I think there's a lot of value in things that they say and just trying to emulate how you're behaving off
Yeah.
of that.
And something that I think is super cool that I've realized, I mean, like even in us just talking right now, is I feel like this is the Drew Lewis special, parentheses, know your worth. And I think that that's really cool because not only as an artist, not only as a human being, but just like sitting across from you, I can tell that there's so much more confidence in everything that you're doing. And it's super cool to see that. And then follow-up thing is like, you're talking about like, you're watching all these panels, looking at like mega producers being like, oh, I did this, this, and this, and this. I can't wait until you're at that point. And then like your fans are going to be going back to somehow like finding this. And then like, yeah, hello everyone. Welcome to the past. But
Yes.
like, I think that that's going to be so cool because then they're going to be doing the exact same thing you're doing and getting inspiration from you who was once in their shoes doing the exact same thing.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Which I think is super cool.
Thank you.
Yeah, and speaking of, moving forward, new things, I had in my notes that this was your newest venture. But now, obviously, the coffee is your newest venture.
Yes.
So what we haven't discussed is Drew also has another venture that
Chill out,
is
man.
I know.
called- yeah, dude, you gotta chill. Called
know.
Townhaus 8.
Yes.
So do you want to maybe just talk to us about what Townhaus 8
Yeah.
is? Where's it going?
I have always wanted to have a house show series at my place, and I live in a townhouse. It's Unit 8, hence Townhaus 8. But I had always thought it would be fun, and I know like a lot of other people have done like house shows, just kind of like, it's cool. And I was like, we have a big, area down here. We could like turn it into a stage. And my roommate's like, all right. And so,
That's cool.
If you say so.
yeah, sure, yeah. And then we were just kind of brainstorming on a day when I had decided I was not going to work and she was off work or whatever. And we were sitting there with our sweet green that we can't afford. And, we're like, we should do that house show thing. What do we call it? I was like, I don't know. Same thing in the dream. I woke up, I was like, Townhouse 8, write it down on my notes.
Yeah, you
Let
gotta
me know the
sleep.
next time you
Yeah.
have a dream, like on stocks or
Jesus.
something, and tell me when to
The
invest.
issue is because
Netflix.
the issue is because I am so like buzz. So it's like, it's not helpful if I'm very stressed about something because I just wake up and I'm stressed about things. But if I'm excited, like I wake up and I'm like, oh, great idea about this thing.
That's awesome.
So I was thinking about what I wanted the house show to look like. And, it was a collaborative effort with me and Heather Catherine, and looking into how feasible it would be if our property manager would kick us out and like, how big we can get it. So basically, we've had one event. We have one next week, and we're doing monthly after that. And it's going very well. And our place is not super big, but enough that it's like it's sold out.
Yeah, there's a
2
good.
times.
I went to the first one. There's a good amount of people. Like even though it
Exactly.
is just like a living room, kind of like we started in the living room. There's more
Yeah.
than enough space in there for
100%.
especially where it is right now. My one question is, ideally, it grows. No longer does it make sense to do it in the townhouse numbered 8.
Yes.
What's the plan?
So we're in talks with a few different venues to try and like see if we can make it work, if it's something that actually makes sense, is it feasible for everybody involved. And obviously it's just a monthly showcase, so it's not like
You're not
it
ruining
takes-
everyone's.
No,
yeah.
it doesn't take like a ton of energy and crazy, especially once you have done the startup and made the Instagram and the flyer template.
Yeah.
It's like all that stuff you got to do. So I think we're gonna be moving to a venue probably within the next 6 months. I think just for now
Great,
though, just
yeah.
kind of recouping
Growing
and
the
getting
name,
everything.
yeah.
My one question in all this is like, how did the owner of the townhome, or like even like the landlord, like what were their thoughts?
Well,
on, like,
we're like good buds with him. We've been at our place for about 4 years now, and he lives right next door. And apparently the walls are thick enough. He says he does not hear the music. I think that's a lie.
I'm not gonna lie. When I went, I'm gonna be
townhouse?
honest. I could hear it from the street.
I know, that's what I'm saying. So I don't know. I think he's just being polite or just doesn't care. But he's just the property manager. He doesn't like own the place. So I do not know if the owner knows about it. So sorry, Mr. Owner. So it's an underground party. It is. But he's super cool. And honestly, like all of our neighbors are really chill. So we're just like, hey,
That's awesome.
We're doing a thing. There's live music for like 2 hours. It's done by 10. It's on a Saturday. We kick everyone out when it's done. So
Yeah.
it's very much like,
It doesn't become a crazy unhinged party
no,
afterwards.
it's very much
either,
like
yeah.
designed to be like a pregame. So you come there, you see some local artists, you can go to the club, you can do whatever else you want with your Saturday
Yeah.
night because we're not trapping you past 10.
Yeah.
It's like, so you can do anything else.
Yeah, and I think the thing that's making you stand out right now, at least as someone from the outside looking in, is just the production value of the shows themselves. You can maybe throw some images up from Instagram so they get an idea of what we're talking about. Yeah, there.
I'm not doing that. I already did the thing. You do that every time. Anytime you like, here's an image, and you go, and you try and make me work, and I don't like it, and I'm just no.
It's okay. The image will be somewhere.
Yeah,
it'll be
it'll
somewhere.
be-
Just fading in right now. It took that long. It's like a 10-second fade in.
It's been slowly fading
Yeah,
since the start of the
that's
podcast.
good.
It finally came in now. No, but it's you just said a club. It's kind of a mini club,
I think because I am a nerd and I have a lot of my own lighting equipment because I'm a control freak as well. So I'm like, I will program all of my lights for my shows and not let anyone touch the board.
Nice.
But that being said, I was like, I do kind of want to make a return on my investment of LED screens and lighting. I'm just like, I should probably do something, frequently. with
Okay,
it.
so in my mind, I had it that you got the screen with the shows in Townhouse 8 in mind.
That would be
was
smart.
a separate
that
investment.
would be so smart.
Okay.
Separate investment. I've always wanted LED screens, and I've had a lighting rig for a little bit, and I was like, I'm gonna pull the trigger.
Yeah, it
Not
does
great
seem
for
like a
credit
natural.
card debt, but
Yeah.
but
Yeah, it did seem to me, at least as someone watching, it did seem like a natural progression because, yes, your live shows are very high production value. The LED screen, the lights, they were already there. So as someone who knows you and then also knows Townhouse 8, it seemed like a very natural progression forward.
exactly.
Yeah. So I think our last thing before we start moving into the outro is, where do you find the artists? How do you vet them? Do they reach out to you?
They
Do
can
you-
apply on Townhouse 8's Instagram at Townhouse 8. There's in our little story highlights, there's a performer application, and we are always looking, especially now that we're starting monthlies. We have May booked, but June, July, August is pretty open. So if anyone's looking to book a small show in Los Angeles, it's very easy. We don't expect anything of the artists, really. You just show up and play a show, and it's great. And we all have a good time and have a cocktail, and it's a good moment. Apply on at Townhouse 8's Instagram.
It's almost as if there will be a link in the description.
How about
That
that?
may even be giving you more information.
How about that?
I mean,
How
that's just
about it?
what a coincidence.
What a coincidence.
Who would have thought?
Exactly, yes. But we're always looking for performers just because, we're usually doing about 5 artists a month. So
That's sick.
It's a lot of people.
Come on.
Yeah.
And our whole the cool thing about that too is our whole demographic here are independent artists trying to find something.
Exactly,
And I
so-
think the coolest thing about all this is that we're all a bunch of random people trying to pursue this crazy industry and just chase after it. And why not do it as a big family holding hands?
Aw,
Yeah.
you're so
yeah.
right.
I think
It's
we even
true.
may have said this quote in the last episode, but the rising tide lifts all ships.
And
you
that
know?
is 100% true.
So, yeah,
That's
I
deep as
believe.
Did you
No,
say
bro.
that?
I think I said that.
Yeah,
I didn't say that.
I would not
Okay, yeah.
Well,
I do
think
not
that's
have that
really
type of swag,
insightful.
dude.
all right, as we come to, we're getting near the end here, but I do have one final thing that we want to confront Drew
God.
with.
Ba, ba,
No.
ba.
So,
scared.
as you know, I hope if you've been watching this, we had Drew on a year ago, and as we always do, we asked him for a piece of advice that he would give an independent artist just coming up. Let's hear what Drew had to say a year ago, almost to the day.
Celebrity, the image goes hand in hand with the music. 'Cause
Yeah.
I think for a long time I was just
Yo,
making
smart.
music. And I was like, why aren't people caring about this? You know? And then I realized I was like, oh, because I'm not an artist. You know, like
Yeah.
I myself make music and I do this thing, but like that's not interesting. And I was, you know, also looking back to like what I listen to and like who I gravitate towards, and like a good bulk of that has to do with the narrative around who I'm
they are,
listening
yeah.
about. Because
Totally.
anyone can make a good song, especially now. You know, everyone has access to tools on their MacBook, whatever. You know, it's like
hell, you can make a song on your iPhone.
your
now. Like, you
iPhone,
don't even
iPad.
need-
All right, we'll call it there. So, two-part question. 1st of all, do you agree with what you said a year ago? And then, a little bit of a spin on our normal final question. What would you say to yourself sitting in that chair a
Wow.
year ago?
I wasn't
Good
even ready
cue.
for this.
Yeah, I'm rocking my world. You need like a soundboard. You need like
Pew, 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 pew. Bruh. What the heck?
exactly, yes. So that's where that would go. Just imagine it.
Got it.
So I think I agree with that in a sense, but I think I'm gonna rephrase it now.
Okay.
I think in a sense what I said is what I still believe, that like you as an artist, as the person, should aid the music. You know, it should be part of that. Like the narrative is important. But I think at the core of that is that you should be open about who you are and write your experience. So I think like in that moment, like I was promoting my EP, Baby's First Heartbreak, which was true to me. I think the lead single, Bottom of the Bottle, I just wrote because I wanted to have a fun party song,
Yeah.
which is great. At the time, I was sober like 4 months and I was filming the video, acting like I was wasted, but that was not where I was at. And I think like not trying to fit the narrative to a song, but just like writing my actual experience has helped loads, because I'm just like, oh, like when I realized I'm not trying to be like, oh, I kind of want to do this thing. And like, I think that's important to like stretch yourself creatively, but like when it's like, I don't need to stretch anything, I just need to do right now. You know, I don't need to reinvent. I'm not Lady Gaga on my third album. You know, I'm just here doing my thing. So I think now it's like I'm in love, spoiler. And I've been posting that, you know, I've been open about that, and I feel like that's what I'm writing about. That's my experience. That's what I'm going through. You see it on my Instagram, you'll hear it in my music, you know, and it's like, it's not necessarily putting on a performance or trying to match a narrative. It's just like, that's it. Why would it be any other way?
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
authentic.
What a
It's
great
authentic.
answer. Yeah. And then the second part, if you could talk to yourself sitting in that chair, that same chair,
This chair, I love this
a
chair.
year ago,
Good chair.
what would you say with a year's more experience? What would you say to yourself saying that a year ago?
I think I would clarify. I'd be like, all right, yeah, like that's it, right? You get that part, but like you don't have to manufacture both parts of that. You know, like it can come from a real place. And if nothing's interesting going on, there's a million songs that are like, life's boring. You know, like that's it. That's a
Yeah.
song. You know, it's like,
great, yeah.
I think, you know, that part. And I think, yeah, was there another part to that question?
that was-
Well, I have one final
Oh my
part.
God.
a year ago or a year from now?
Oh, good one.
What do you think you're gonna say to what would you say to yourself a year from now?
A year from now.
Even if you're watching the video or something like that, like, where do you think you're headed?
I think there are great things coming, and I think that all the time. I'm very painfully optimistic, but I think I just now more than ever am in a very good headspace to create authentically and not be afraid to do so, and not for the sake of doing something because it's cool, just doing it authentically.
It's awesome.
And I think creating authentically is very important, and I think that will lead to great things in this next year.
Yeah. All right. Well, Drew, thank you so much for coming back.
Thank
new
you
set,
for having me.
New year.
Yes.
New everything.
New everything.
So, same as last time, you got that camera. You got the moving camera if it wants to come back to you.
Yeah, that's okay.
Where can people find you? Where can people find Magic Coffee? Where can people find Townhaus 8?
When you list it all out like that, I'm doing too much. You can find me everywhere at Real Drew Lewis, Louis. You'll see it in the description if it's not placed right here actually. It'll be right here this big.
Okay, so
Just for Micah.
There you go.
Right here, you can actually click it too. It's an annotation now.
I hate
And then you can find Magic Coffee at Drink Magic Coffee. And if you're an artist looking to play a show, at Townhaus 8. If you're looking to just come to a cool show in LA, at Townhaus 8. And yeah, I think that's all my things.
All right, Micah, where can everyone find you?
You can find me on Instagram and Twitter at Shoelace Music, spelled SHOOLACE.
Fire music, by the way.
Yeah, I'm also on my own individuality, trying to do my own thing, so it's very inspirational. It's cool to hear your authentic self coming into play, so I am inspired.
Thank you.
And Finlay, where can everyone find you?
can find
and
me-
where can they find Roseflower Records?
Oh, my bad, sorry. You can find me on Instagram at Finlay Did It, because who did it?
Finlay did it.
You can find Roseflower Records
like that.
at Roseflower Records on Instagram, at Roseflower Records on Twitter, at Roseflower Records on TikTok, and at www.roseflowerrecords.com. Drew, thank you so much for coming down.
Thank you.
Everyone, thank you so much for watching. We'll see you in the next episode. Bye-bye.
Peace.
Right now, I really need to go pee. Oh, my God.
We were just the
I will be back.